Hi, my name is Isabelle Whiting, and this is my lifespan timeline presentation. A little bit about me. I was born in May of 2003 and was 8 weeks early and spent 30 days in the neonatal intensive care unit. I'm from Charlotte, Michigan, and I'm currently going to school for secondary special education, social studies education, and a minor in athletic coaching. I am also fortunate enough to be on the club softball team at SVSU. And when I'm not working at school or at softball, I typically like hanging out with my family at sporting events. And I like taking trips to Disney with my family. That is my favorite vacation spot. Because of being a preemie, I began developing specific reflexes and movements later than average. One reflex that I exhibited as an infant was palmar grasp. Palmar grasp is a reflex typically shown around the newborn to 1 month stage. This reflex is described as the child's gripping the parent's finger with their hand. I exhibited this reflex around 2 months. Swimming is another reflex that is typically shown around 2 to 6 months. I showed this reflex around 1.5 months, shortly after being discharged from the hospital. Swimming is described as when a child is held up in the air and they move their arms and their legs in a swimming motion. Typically, infants show the startle reflex around 1 month, and that begins to fade around 2 months. However, through my research, I did not startle. Kicking and other more active movements and that are more involuntary begin around 2 months, and I began exhibiting these types of reflexes, more or less kicking, at about 1.5 months. So I began creeping about a month after I started crawling. And from a little bit of my research, that is backwards. So I began crawling around 6 to 7 months, which that is typically shown around 7 to 8 months with infants. And then I began creeping at about 7 to 8 months. I also began walking unassisted around 10 months, which is 2 months earlier than it's typically seen with infants. But through my research, once I started walking, I was very active and tried to be independent. My functional skills through childhood also kind of started a little early. Kicking in the initial stage begins with the pushing of the ball with the foot. I didn't excel at that, and so I would probably say I'm still, in the elementary stage, which consists of taking a couple deliberate steps when approaching the ball and a bigger leg swing, which I would say my leg swing is still not very big. I didn't begin strongly with throwing, which begins with arm action only in the initial stage and moves to full body in a step with an arm motion in the mature stage, which I would say most of the time I'm in a mature stage, but sometimes I am not, and I kind of move back to that elementary stage. Hitting or striking a ball, I think that again, I'm still kind of between the elementary and mature stages of that skill sometimes. In initial stage, the strike is more or less like the throwing motion, whereas elementary to mature, the hips start to turn, the weight starts being shifted from one leg to another. The rotation of the arms is horizontal instead of vertically like the initial stage is. And the arms are more in sync with the hips. One specialized skill that I learned in childhood was ice skating. How I progressed through learning how to ice skate was standing on the ice skates, walking on the ice skates, and then gliding on ice. And I used block practice to learn those skills. And then once I was better at the standing, walking, and gliding part, I added a stick and a puck, as I thought that I was pretty good. But I didn't end up going any farther than ice skating, and I probably couldn't do it even now. Into my adulthood, by 23, I hope to graduate with my bachelor's degree and my teacher certification. And then after I graduate and into my late 20s, I hope to get a job and move back home towards the Lansing area. In my 30s, I hope to, start a family, maybe return to school for my master's in teaching special education and get my third endorsement in autism spectrum disorder. I've always loved traveling, and I would hope that into my 30s, I can explore new countries and, travel all over the world. In the 40s, in my 40s, I hope to create bonds with my kids and continue to explore and take them with me and kind of show them the world that they live in. By my 50s, I hope that I'm still active and healthy and participating in activities with my kids and coaching still, and just watching my kids grow up, because I feel that family is very important. In my 60s and 70s, I'll probably retire from teaching. And it's always been a dream job of mine to work at Disney World. So I'll probably move to Florida, maybe get a job as a cast member at Disney World. By 80, I'll probably retire for good, maybe move back up to Michigan or wherever my kids are at so I can watch my grandkids grow up and get to know them and have relationships with them. And then my estimated age was 93 years old. So probably into my 90s, my goals would to be move in with my kids or into a nursing home, just so I could be independent, but not completely alone. So in conclusion, I was born premature. I spent 30 days in the neonatal intensive care unit. And because of that, once I was in a stimulated environment, I hit major reflex and voluntary movement milestones earlier than average, although some of them I hit later than average in like my early months. In my childhood, similar to when I was an infant, some of my skills showed early, but some of my skills are still in the elementary stage. And I learned how to independently ice skate even though I probably can't now, because I just haven't practiced that or done that in a while. And into my adulthood, I want to live a long, healthy life and be able to watch my kids and grandkids grow up.